Ooh,
Hello and welcome to the 35 Minutes of Heaven we call the D1Baseball Weekend Preview. Somebody's coughing in the background, but we will power through it. I am your host, Michael Patrick Rooney. I am joined by the three number one seeds of college baseball's media group. The David Seifert University Fighting Cobras, the University of Aaron Fitt Purple Aces, and the University of Kendall Rogers East Texans. Gentlemen, tonight's episode brought to us by our friends at S2 Cognition. S2 Cognition delivers a revolutionary approach to helping athletes understand how in-game decisions impact their performance from youth levels all the way to the pros.
hey,
go ahead,
Moons,
Fitzy.
are you trolling Coach Seifert by giving me the purple aces? Is that a troll job? What is that?
No, because you're the only one on this call that has a hole-in-one. I gave that a lot of thought.
That's true. Two hole-in-ones. Two holes in one.
That's like legit. Those are legitimately aces. I didn't like you. That's right. I could have picked a different color. I really didn't know what to do with that.
We'll be the yellow aces. How about that?
Yellow aces.
I like
the pastel aces, Fitzy, because you're always well dressed on the golf course.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. Kendall, the H is a Freudian slip. I almost went hate. I had the hate theme in your nickname, like the fighting haterades, the hating Buckies, but just East Texans felt right. So that's what I went with.
Yeah, that's a good one. I wonder what our mascot would be.
The Texans part?
Like a lumberjack, like a East Texan? Would that be like a SFA lumberjack kind of?
It's like you're like the Bucky Beaver, right? Is that what that?
We don't have any beavers.
It's a logoed beef jerky bar outside of a gas station with a beard. That's what your logo would be.
Okay. Makes
sense. Complicated. Yes. Saif, this is not your fault. We have no cough button on podcasts. In other mediums of media, you could have hit the cough button and you would have been just fine there. Was that?
I think you do. There's a little thing called the mute button.
I don't think he was coughing. I think he was like he was making a quick outburst. I think it was at my expense, and then you cut in.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah,
see
I
that.
was watching in real time. Fitt pick his picks because he hadn't picked anybody until we popped on here, and everybody else had all their picks, and he's putting them in as we're talking. So I was laughing at that.
Yeah,
so.
That's excellent. Hey, boys, one more piece of inane banter before we get into it. Do you pick brackets for NCAA hoops every year, or do you abstain? Kendall,
I typically do.
Did you do it this year?
I have not done it yet. I guess I better get on that after tonight.
Yeah, and technically 2 of the games have already been played, just FYI.
He's going to win those.
Yeah, that's...
Well, they don't actually start the game until, like, the actual bracket set, right?
The first 4, whatever they call it, has already been played. The 65 through 68
But
teams.
what I'm saying is, like, the brackets for, like, Yahoo and ESPN do not count those games for the bracket games.
Oh, okay. My paper bracket does count those games, so...
Okay, well...
I'm going to have a few more whacks at it than you. Fitzy, what say you?
I've done one every year for 30-ish years, but I don't know. So far, I haven't committed to one. Maybe I'll dive in at the last second.
He's still despondent from Carolina not making it.
Well, I mean, that particular team just soured me on college basketball as a whole.
That was weird, huh?
Not a fun season for the Tar Heels.
They made history though, like first preseason number 1 ever to not make the tournament. So
they've got that going for them, which is nice.
That's something. Eternal consciousness. Saif, how about you? Do you do a bracket? You're a hoops guy.
Occasionally, my wife usually coordinates it at her school, so I will when she does that. But I got an off year this year. She's not the coordinator, so I'm out. I'm out.
All right, I'll give you guys 2 interesting nuggets in my bracket. I have Purdue as the national champion. Maybe that's not interesting. I have Charleston. I have the College of Chucktown, or otherwise known as the College, in the Final 8.
Interesting. Are they that good? This tells me how much I know about college basketball right now. Like, is Charleston really that good?
They're 31-3. Now, I don't know what that tells us, but I mean, that's a lot of wins, right? So
that's a lot of wins in basketball.
But we're not here to talk about hoops, gentlemen, even though I was a heck of a 4th assistant on the Marple Newtown High School staff back in the day when we were holding Kobe Bryant to 38 points as a sophomore. But let's move to baseball. We're going to do our weekly picks. Some of us are going to do them live. Some of us have already done them. So we will go around the horn. Saif, since you're the director of credibility and our esteemed guest, I'll let you go first. First series, Alabama at Florida. Who are you going with there, Saif?
Well, every week there's a couple obvious ones, and I think this is just the obvious one. I mean, full respect to the Ivy League, full respect to Columbia, but Alabama just lost the series to Columbia at Alabama, so you got to go with the Gators here.
I like it. Fitzy?
Same. I mean, I feel like Florida feels like a truly elite, top 3 or 4 team in the country. Like it feels like it's LSU, it's Tennessee, and Florida is kind of how I feel. Like even though the rankings don't quite reflect that yet, just based on poll mechanics and some things, I feel like those are the 3 best teams. Although without Wyatt Langford, that's a factor. Mm-hmm. And I do really like Alabama. I mean, you guys know I've been driving the Alabama bus since the fall, but I'm going to take the Gators at home. We'll keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. Smart play. Kendall?
I have a rule. I know Columbia is a solid club, but if you lose 15-3 to Columbia in a rubber match, I'm not liking your chances against the Gators the next week in Gainesville. Gators it is.
That's the rule? That's like kind of a...
That's my rule of thumb.
That's your credo?
If you get run off the field by Columbia on a Sunday in a rubber match in an important game, you're probably not taking 2 or 3 from the Gators.
Yeah, well, Kendall,
if they win this series, they're going to take that clip and totally replay it, by the way.
I have a credo, too. My first credo is no regrets, which is a great scene from We're the Millers. But my other credo is when you guys zig, I zag. So I'm taking Alabama. I think all the points you guys made are spot on. Wyatt Langford, I think, is a real thing. What's the Neely kid's first name for Florida? It's Brandon Neely?
Brandon Neely, yeah.
Yeah, so Sully had mentioned, we get to interview him for the SiriusXM show this week, and he mentioned that Neely is getting healthy, and he feels like that changes their bullpen. And so that would be another reason to pick Florida. But I'm going to pick Alabama. I think that was a blip last week. I really like how old they are. They can pitch. But, I'm picking a long shot. That's not lost on me. I'm picking a big-time long shot right here.
Well, I will say this real quick, Rins, before we move on, is like if you're Alabama, but maybe that's kind of the wake-up call you needed. Maybe this is a team that when they got off to a hot start kind of thought they were kind of the cat's meow, and like this is kind of what gets them back to being humbled a little bit. So I mean, it actually could work in their favor. I just think Florida is such a good team that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean we've used this analogy before, but Penn won a series at A&M last year, and then A&M won the West, which is a division that sent 4 teams to Omaha. So crazy. But in fairness, A&M did not get run off the field by Penn. They lost the series. So it is what it is. But I think. First of all, it's a Thursday to Saturday series, which is awesome. What a great way to kick off the weekend. So there you go. Let's go to series number 2 is Virginia at NC State. Seif, what are you saying there?
Well, NC State, they disappointed me last week heading out of Miami. I'll have a Miami story when we get to that pick here later. But this is still a pick 'em for me. Virginia playing at NC State. And I'm just going to go with the better defensive team. I don't think Virginia is going to beat themselves. I think they have less than 10. They have 9 errors this entire season so far. So I don't think they beat themselves. So I'm going to go Virginia.
Fitzy?
And I like Seif's rationale there because the Wolfpack did not play great defense down in Coral Gables. That does feel like a factor. Ultimately, for me, I feel like we got 2 really good offensive teams. NC State, really good home team. Traditionally, they always play well at home. And I do feel like, it's been weird like last week, right? Like after that Miami series, they just got run off the field at Elon or at home against Elon. So I was just about to say, there's this great home team. They just got blown out 14-6 at home by Elon. So I don't know, but I don't know. I just feel like Virginia's pitching. Both these teams feel like they have pretty ordinary pitching, and I expect a higher scoring series. I think both these teams can really swing the bats. I was prepared to take NC State at home, guys, but I think I'm not going to pull the trigger. I think I'm going to go back to the back to Virginia. I just think ultimately, I don't know. They just feel like the more.
That means you got to change your pick, though.
I know.
Okay.
I'm talking myself through it. Honestly, like I put NC State on the sheet. I'm going back. Like Seif said, it's a pick 'em.
Is that legal? I don't know if that's legal.
No, it's legal. It's totally legal. If you're in the middle of the podcast, you can totally change your pick.
Until Chris Gennaro does the graphic, I think it's all legal. But Fitzy, do you have a personal rule on I have a new in 2023? Once I click the pick, I'm out. I'm not going back and forth. Do you have a rule on that?
I feel like I'm stuck between 7-iron and 8-iron, and my caddy should have just told me, "Hey, commit. Just pick a club and commit." And I didn't. I didn't. I'm wavering. I'm stuck in between. I'm going to get burned. NC State's going to win this series. You can lock that in now because I'm picking Virginia.
This is not good for the pastel aces right now.
To the people picking Virginia, not so fast, my friend.
Oh,
I think we look at NC State. So I watched the opener of NC State Miami, and there's no doubt Miami got off to a really good start. But I tell you what, the rest of that game was literally Miami just hanging on for dear life. Like if they play another inning or two, NC State's winning that game. I like the way they came back in the Friday game. They did, lose 8-1 on Saturday, but they came back in the series finale and won 14-4 on the road. That's a series they could have very, very easily won. I think there's some sense of urgency. I think NC State takes care of business at home.
Yeah, I was tempted to pick NC State because I think the ACC is going to be that kind of league this year where it's just like kind of a Royal Rumble, if you will. But I do, and Seif, what you said about the defense, really, I didn't realize that NC State is playing such poor defense. Like it's really spooky in that they're fielding 966, but the spookier part is like they've got 8 position players with more than 2 errors. Like it's not like Elliott Avent and Chris Hart can just say, hey, let's play these guys. Like everybody's kicking the ball. So I don't know if I guess we'll find out if that's chronic or not. But I just think Virginia's position player group is a special one. I think it's better than NC State's position player group, even though NC State's got a good one. So yeah, I think a lot of questions on both pitching staffs, but the Virginia position player group I think is absolutely legit. So give me the who's.
And I wrote, I think in my column the other day that I think the top 6 guys in that UVA lineup, I'll take those guys against just about anybody,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whoever you like, LSU, whatever super team you want. I love the top 6 guys in that UVA order. And then the guys at the bottom, like, do their roles too. Justin Rubin can play the heck out of second base, boy. I mean, you take a defensive hit, that's fine. But like, boy, that guy can defend. And I just think that O'Farrell, O'Donnell, Geloff, Teal, Sauke, and Anderson, my God, that's so good. It's just balanced, it's athletic. They control the zone. They hit for power, they hit for average, they run. I mean, it's just a dynamite group of 6 players.
Yep. Amen. Seif, so we're going to Conference USA right now. And the Owls of Florida Atlantic taking on the Roadrunners of UTSA in San Antonio. Is that like a rivalry in the wild as well? Do Owls pick on Roadrunners or they can't catch them? Anybody know?
Probably can't catch them. That's my guess.
They can't, as a person with ties to West Texas to some degree, they cannot catch up to a Roadrunner.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, that's good to know. Seif, who do you like here? Do you like the Owls or the Roadrunners?
Admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about either club, but I do love me some Nolan Shanuel. I hope I said his last name right. I apologize.
Shanuel, yeah.
That was good. That was not bad. That was close.
I mean, he's only hitting like what, 450 or something crazy this year. But at the end of the day, I think the Roadrunners got. Statistically, they have a 2.74 team ERA, and I think they have like a 3.40 team batting average. They're playing at home. And in this one, I was just like, I'm going to go with the home team with a good pitching staff and a loaded lineup. And Nolan Shanuel, just have to pitch around him. So UTSA it is.
Let's go Roadrunners. Fitzy, what are you thinking here?
I've got to fact check you guys. An owl, top speed, can fly 40 miles an hour.
Ooh,
Roadrunner.
That's downhill. That's gravity drop.
So
it's with the live ball, with the juice ball.
The juice ball. Roadrunners, I got 26 mile an hour is what I got. And even running is even slower than that. So I'm taking the Owls for that reason.
Thank you.
Okay. I feel like Fid just made up these numbers.
Yeah, I think so too.
There's this thing called Google. You can try it, Kendall.
Yeah, because everything you Google is totally accurate.
National Audubon Society feels like a pretty credible source.
Do Roadrunners
National Audubon
fly?
Society.
No, but FAU, I do feel like they can really swing the bats. I think it is more than just this Chinwell, although boy, he's a wrecking ball. I think it's a neat series. I do think. I mean, UTSA is what 15-3, right? Like they got off to a great start. I mean, and they were a borderline regional team last year. I mean, they haven't played the strongest schedule this year, but they're really taking care of business. I mean, I think it's a really neat series, but I like this FAU position player group a lot, and I do feel like. The pitching is good enough. It's not elite pitching, but I think there are enough arms there, and they're pitching a little better right now. I think so. Yeah, I'm just riding it out with FAU here.
I'm going with UTSA. I mean, I think you look at the job that Patrick Hallmark has done there since he's been in San Antonio. It's been really impressive. I mean, this is a team that frankly, had a really good pitch to be in the postseason last year. I think they're playing pretty motivated this year. And, one thing I kind of go back to is when I did the story in FAU a couple weeks ago, and John McCormick made this point, they're like, hey, like our pitching staff pretty much has like no stuff. It's just all pitchability dudes. And I think when you look at a lineup like UTSA's with, 4 guys hitting over 400, multiple guys hitting over 300, power, you look at Antonio Valdez, who's transferred over from Baylor, is, hitting 458 with, 5 bombs. I think you need more than just pitchability guys against a lineup like this. So I like UTSA at home.
Hey, Coach Runes, you're muted.
Oh man, that was audio gold. You guys.
I was wondering. I was like, wait, did I?
Yeah.
Well, the best part is
disagree with me.
You guys really you let me finish my thought, which I appreciate.
Well, picking UTSA made you speechless.
The best part was I said 3 or 4 times that you're muted, but I said it while muted myself.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Dynamite stuff.
It's a mute fest over here.
Oh man,
I was complimenting us on mentioning the National Audubon Society. I thought that makes us all winners at this point. But I was also complimenting you, Kendall, on mentioning Patrick Hallmark, because that is remarkable. Like, he also did a great job in Incarnate Word.
He really
had
did.
2 really good years there, and like this is a name we need to know in coaching. And so anyway. Florida Atlantic, though, like just the brand name I can't get past. I think what you said, Fitzy, is where my brain is. This really is an awesome series. I'm taking Florida Atlantic. UTSA is hot. They're 12-1. They're not just 15-3. They're 12 out of their last 13. But I do think these are 2 of the best teams in Conference USA. So I'll take Florida Atlantic, but I'm really curious to keep my eyeballs on this series.
I think the whole league is fascinating because I know Charlotte's record isn't very good, and I still feel like they're going to be a factor. They played a pretty good schedule. Like they're 6-10. They're going to make a run. I think they're going to be in the mix. Louisiana Tech, same thing, like 9-7. They're better than that. Played a good schedule, and I still believe in DBU. Like I feel like there's 5 teams there that I think you can shake them up and pull them out in any order. Like I think it's going to be a great race in Conference USA.
Not to sidetrack us, boys, but here's the problem, and maybe it's too early to call it a problem. The RPIs in that league are really rough right now. Like, can they fix themselves within the league? Like, there's only 1 double-digit RPI, that's UTSA at 58, and there are some good, like Western Kentucky's off to this great start, 14-4, but their RPI is 223. Oof. Everybody else, including DBU and FAU and Louisiana Tech and Charlotte, are in the hundreds. So I don't like that's a little spooky, but maybe it can correct itself in the midweek. I don't know. Sorry. Take. Yeah, kind of negative Nancy there. Seif, how about Southern Miss at Texas State?
I keep it pretty simple. I don't know nearly as much about this as you. I just know the prospects and the teams I see. So Levi Wells is back for Texas State. He pitched game 3. I think 9 strikeouts in 6 innings last week. He missed week 3, but he's back in week 4. The other thing I liked about Texas State when I was looking up more information on is they can win in a variety of ways. They won like 19-18 last week, and they also won like 4 or 5-1. So they get you in many ways, and they're the home team. So when in doubt, I usually take the home team. So Texas State.
Love it. Fitzy?
Yeah, this for me is just a vote of confidence in Southern Miss. And I know they've been a little wobbly. They lost that game last week to Valpo on Friday with Tanner Hall on the mound. And he pitched fine. It was 6 innings, like 2 runs. I mean, it wasn't really his fault. They just unexpectedly lost that game, but then they showed me something by bouncing back and winning the next 2. I kind of like what they've gotten in the rotation after Hall from Adams, I believe, and Mazza. I mean, those 2 guys that I like both those guys in the fall. They got stuff, it's real. Mazza's case, I mean, it's like a mid-90s guy with like, it's real stuff. Adams too, though. I mean, it might be 92, 94. They got enough arms there. I would really like those 3 guys. Actually, I believe heading into the year that the offense would be their strength. It's been maybe a little more up and down than I expected, but I do like that position player group a lot. I just believe in Southern Miss, and I'm going to take them on the road here.
I'm going to go with Texas State. I actually saw those guys last night against TCU, and I tell you what, their offense looked back to the way it was at the end of last year. I mean, I think, you look at the, Jose Gonzalez, he was just terrific last night. Hit an oppo bomb as a total no-doubter. Peyton Lewis looked good at the plate. Augie Ramirez looked good. Dalen Pena. I mean, the list kind of goes on. That's a really, really deep lineup. Actually, Chase Mora, the freshman with 7 bombs, was like the one guy who really didn't do much last night. I love their offensive lineup. And I just think when you look at this matchup overall, Texas State can 100% go toe-to-toe with those guys on the mound when you look at Zeke Wood and Levi Wells against Tanner Hall and company. But where the differentiator is between these two teams is the Bobcats are a much, much better offensive club right now than Southern Miss. I think if Southern Miss is going to win this series, guys like Carson Pato and Reese Ewing, they've got to step up. They've gotten off to a really slow start this year. So I like the Bobcats.
Easy on my boy Reese Ewing, Kendall. Like, let's not have people crap talking Fabulous Rune Dogs, even though you're correct.
I'm not crap. To be fair to Reese, he actually has increased his average. Like, he's up to 250 now, and I think he was actually at like 170 at one point. So clearly he's doing better.
That happens a lot when
Sure.
the Fabulous Rune Dogs acquire a player. People put a lot of pressure on themselves.
I thought you were being serious for a second.
It's like getting picked up by the Yankees. It's like there's
he's a little starstruck.
Yeah,
some people have draftitis. He had Rune Dogitis.
That's right. It happens. It happens to good players. But I like what you said, Kendall. Like the Texas State just feels more complete. Although Southern Miss, to your point, Fitzy, like this roster should be not wobbly, right? Like they're old and good and track record, but I think it'll click in for Southern Miss at some point, but they have lost 2 of Tanner Hall's 4 starts. So give me Texas State at home. Another fascinating matchup.
They looked great last night. Granted, it's a midweek game and TCU kind of threw a couple of, arms of the wolves a little bit, but they looked really, really good.
Love it. Oh, this is going to be great. LSU at A&M. Seif, what say you?
Saves me. I just can't bet against my boy Dylan Cruz and LSU. I don't know if you've looked at their scores lately, but they don't even play competitive games. They just blow everybody out of the water. I would love to be a pitcher for LSU, but I know they're playing at A&M. I know that's Kendall stomping grounds, but until they prove otherwise, it's LSU's number 1, and they are rolling right along right now. Can't go against them.
Fitzy?
LSU has scored 11 or more runs in 8 of their last 9 games, including a 26 spot in there. I mean, it just the offense and the one game they didn't score 11, by the way, they scored 9. So they're rolling. I mean, they're just, and granted, I understand they haven't been facing elite arms, but they're just, you can get yourself into a pretty nice groove. Feasting on maybe some non-conference competition, and I get there's different schools of thought on how to schedule. I like that they at least went to Round Rock, and had a good 3-game test out there, and they had a game at Texas, who you usually expect to be good. Largely, they've gotten fat on some soft competition, but you know what? It's an extremely talented offensive team and pitching team, just an extremely talented roster that is now riding high and got some confidence. And A&M, it feels like they've righted the ship some after their little struggle there, but nonetheless, LSU feels like a buzzsaw, and I'm absolutely taking the Tigers right now.
KR.
Yeah, I like LSU here, but the one thing I'll say about LSU is as much as I love this team offensively, let's not forget the best team they played this year, they lost 12-4 on a Saturday. So it's not like they were throwing scrubs out there against Iowa and they got dominated. So there is that aspect of this series I kind of look at and go, okay, well, maybe it's just a little bit of just a byproduct of just playing crap competition. But there's no doubt this is a really good offense. I think the big thing for me when I look at LSU that makes me feel really good about them is no disrespect, but it's the fact that the weekend rotation now has 3 absolute dudes. Like Riley Cooper is like a nice college pitcher, but Ty Floyd was awesome in the fall. Thatcher Hurd clearly got premier stuff, and so they've kind of got the rotation where it needs to be. The only thing that as much as I like LSU in the series, the only thing I would keep an eye on is like if you look back at last year, we went into conference play, and A&M was like a team just littered with question marks. And what did they do? They started SEC play on the road and shocked LSU and won that series. So would it be surprising to me if A&M won this series? Absolutely not. I have no doubt Jim Schlossnagle will have those guys ready. Let's not forget, like Nate Yeski's going to know how to approach a Jay Johnson offense. He's 100% going to know how to approach that. So I think it's actually going to be a really close series.
Yep. All fair points. The LSU in the last 11 games you guys are talking about, they've outscored the opponent 142-14, which is
That's
ridiculous. Like it's one thing to play a bad schedule. It's another thing to just maul that bad schedule, which is what they've done. Kendall, I'm with you. Like Ty Floyd and Thatcher Hurd moving into the rotation felt like the right thing. But, Paul Skeens and Thatcher Hurd are going to make their first SEC start. Even Ty Floyd being a junior, he's only made 3 SEC starts in his career. So, I don't know. Does that mean anything? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't.
Do it, Runes. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger.
No, but we are giving A&M juice. Only one of us has picked A&M this week, and it is the great Stitchhead. He is the only one. There are 9 nay votes for A&M, and Stitchhead is ride or die with the Aggies. So we're giving him the juice.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this about A&M too. Like they can match up with LSU on the weekend rotation. Like we've seen Nathan Detmer be elite. We saw that last year against Notre Dame in Omaha. We saw it against Vandy last year. Troy Wanting, a little bit unproven. Like he's been really good for him, but like let's see him against LSU's lineup. And then Chris Cortez, clearly we know he has premier potential. So again, I think it's gonna be a great series. I'm just pissed that it's supposed to be like 48 degrees at first pitch on Friday and Saturday. That's just a bummer.
It would be better for A&M if LSU didn't have Dylan Cruz or now hot Tommy White or the other 27.
By the way, we were talking about this in the group chat earlier today, but like Dylan Cruz numbers are just ridiculous.
Yeah,
like him and Jack Cagg's numbers side by side. Like if you had to pick an SEC player of the year right now, like it's pretty tough.
I mean, I think at this point you have to take the guy who also has like a 1-something ERA in addition to leading the country in home runs. But like that said, like Dylan Cruz is the best player in the country and he's hitting over 500, right?
Crazy.
And he's still like it's nuts. It's freaking nuts what he's doing with power and like the control of the strike zone. It's absurd. And how about our boy Paxton Kling? I mean, I know you liked him.
Yeah,
I mean,
Pennsylvania,
living up to his kind of freshman of the year type. So far, he's been awesome.
Love it. Seif, take us to the Big 12. Let's start with TCU at Oklahoma.
Man, this is a tough one for me because I know Oklahoma just swept Houston at Houston. They played really well, and TCU hasn't played really well since I saw them at Globe Life. But they won 2 out of 3 at Globe Life. I think they've lost 4 of their last 7, though. So it's not the same TCU team that I saw, but I did see TCU. I saw them really good. I like their club a lot. They're hitting, they're pitching, their defense. I don't know anything about Oklahoma. I wish I could pick this game in 2 more weeks. I'm going to go see Stanford when they come into Norman. So I don't know the Oklahoma club at all. They have a new rotation. They have mostly a new lineup outside of Kendall's guy, John Spikerman, who is not doing so hot right now.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising.
They have several other new guys that are just tearing it up. So I wish I would have seen them more. I haven't seen them all yet this year. But I'm just going to go with the TCU club that I know and I saw in Globe Life. And even though they're playing at Oklahoma, I'm going with the Horned Frogs.
Fitzy.
This is one where, I think it's kind of a toss-up, and I'll take the home team. I think TCU probably in neutral field is probably the better team, but you guys know I'm bullish on the Sooners. I've talked a lot about it in the last couple of weeks since Frisco, really. And what I was really encouraged by was the way that their starting pitchers performed this past weekend after kind of a mediocre showing in Frisco. They got 6 strong innings from Cale Davis and I believe 7 strong innings from Dothit. And so, to me, that's huge. To get some length out of their rotation, because I like their bullpen. I like, Carter Campbell, the lefty, and Carson Pierce. I think they're using out of the bullpen right now. They've got actually some depth there and some mix and match ability, some different looks. And certainly we love their style of play offensively and their athleticism on defense. Dakota Harris is a dude as a JUCO transfer, having a great year so far. I will take the Sooners at home.
Kendall, before you answer, did Braden Taylor play shortstop in the midweek game because of an injury or because they're considering
He's been playing there quite a bit lately. And he's actually scuffling a little bit right now. I was talking to a couple of TCU people, have a blog, and they were saying that lately he's been pressing a lot. So that's something as they go into Big 12 play that he's going to have to get a lot better. Defensively, it was kind of funny early in the game. He scuffled a little bit. Like there were a couple of plays that I thought he could have made that he didn't make. But he actually made a really good play late in the game. So yeah, he's been there quite a bit as of late.
And what say you here?
I'm going to go Oklahoma. As Fitt and Seif alluded to, Oklahoma played really well against Houston. Granted, Houston's terrible right now, but they played well in that series. And I'll say this about TCU too. Not having Garrett Wright and not having Luke Savage, those are 2 big losses when you go into a conference series. You're talking about one guy with a fastball up to 97, 98. you were talking about another guy who has been an absolute workhorse for your bullpen throughout his career, and a really consistent arm, by the way, and Luke Savage. So, those two guys are to be determined this weekend. Savage was out last week in shoulder soreness. I'm guessing he's probably not back after 1 week. But if they don't have those two guys, that puts a lot of stress on those young arms like Luis Rodriguez and Chase Hoover and guys like that. Cole Klecker, the list kind of goes on.
I'm taking OU. These are two of my favorite position player groups nationally. I love these two groups. I like it better when Braden Taylor's playing third base, and I forget who their shortstop is. So they have a freshman shortstop that was
Anthony Silva.
Yeah. I like the sound of him. I've not seen him yet. But long story short, give me the healthier team at home. I will take the Sooners. Seif, the other matchup in the Big 12 is Oklahoma State going to Texas Tech. What do you like here?
I'm going to back up for a second. I'm going to pull Aaron Fitt. I'm going to go with Oklahoma over TCU. I just changed my pick for last pick. So.
Saif, it's funny you say that because I actually thought once you heard like the injury report, you'd pump the brakes on TCU a little bit.
See, I don't like this. It's one thing to talk yourself into a change of opinion during your own section, but I feel like to hear what everyone else picked and then change your mind, that feels like a different can of worms.
So I don't think the three of us could do it, but like Seif, like his job is like kind of following the prospects. So like he's not up to date on the injuries like we are.
Yeah, see, if this was the NFL, I would have known the injuries runes, but I got Raj for
we
this.
We need to put up like I need you to have like a weekly injury report, like who's out this weekend for all the Power 5 teams.
There are so many. I mean, obviously,
there's
every year in week 5, there's always a ton, but it just we sit there and beat ourselves up every time a good college or any college player goes down because it's frustrating for the sport. But Aruns, back to your question, buddy. Another pick 'em. I really like the Oklahoma State team that I saw. I think they only won 1 out of 3 games at Globe Life, but they've got a good club. They got a good lineup. They got good pitching. They got a good bullpen. Texas State I haven't seen yet, so I'm kind of at the mercy there. But I'm going with the Oklahoma State Cowboys in this one on the road in Lubbock.
Like your
hey, are you pulling a Clark Kellogg like you called TCU the Froghorns? You called Texas Tech Texas State.
Did I say that? Did I say that backwards? It's been
Texas
a long day. I've been working outside all day. It was a long day, so I'm not thinking straight.
I love it. Fitzy, what say you?
Well, at the risk of giving my opinion and having Seif steal my pick, I'm going to take.
I can see it. I can see your pick.
I'm going to take Texas Tech, and here's why. Because I went round and round on this one. Like this is the one I think when I was making my picks, I just kind of stared at the screen for like 10 minutes because I could not decide. I do love the way Oklahoma State's been swinging the bats lately. I mean, it feels like the wind is going to be howling this weekend. I'm not sure what direction it is going to be, but I'll be in Lubbock. So I was looking at the forecast, and we got wind, boys. I know it's going to surprise you.
I'm totally
surprise you. However, we're also going to have some cold. It's going to be like in the low 50s, and then I don't know if they're going to do doubleheader or what, because Sunday looks lousy. But anyway, it should be. I would think with the wind, it would probably be an offensive series like usual in Lubbock, and I do like Oklahoma State's offense a lot and their power. However, I think I said last week on this show, if Texas Tech is playing at home, I'm almost always taking Texas Tech because I just love their home field advantage. And I love, the way that they swung the bats against an Iowa team that has some real arms. And so I am going to take the Red Raiders. I'm going to stick by my my doctrine there. Pick the Red Raiders at home.
Kendall?
I subscribe to the same doctrine. I think we look at Texas Tech overall. I mean, this is a team that I feel like after that 16-inning game against A&M, they've played really well. Yeah, I don't know if you can call that game like a wake-up call or like kind of the trigger that got them going a little bit, but they looked awesome against Iowa last week. And frankly, Iowa held on for dear life to get a game in that series. Clearly, Texas Tech has some bullpen depth. I mentioned a couple weeks ago Ryan Free, Brandon Beckel, Kyle Robinson moved back in the rotation. He's a big-time arm. They've already got Mason Molina and Brendan Girton. And then, offensively, they started to figure it out. They weren't very offensive, over the week or 2 weekends ago at Shriners. But last weekend against Iowa, they were very offensive. Gavin Cash, earlier this year, I made the comment that, if you had to build your team around Gavin Cash, like you might be in trouble. Like this dude is like making me eat my words because he, like every single weekend, he just continues to hit. He continues to hit for power, and he's been fantastic. So the question mark for Tech coming the year was like, who can become that next superstar? And he looks like that guy. And if that happens, I like their chances. So I like Texas Tech at home. But I think the prediction for me is a lot of runs. I think both these teams offensively are absolutely electric.
I love that. You know what's so funny? I thought I had picked Texas Tech, and I look at the board, and I've got Oklahoma State. I'll stay with it. It's a pick 'em. I was, like you, Kendall, very impressed with Texas Tech last week against Iowa. They kind of had that swagger that we're used to. They were kind of in Iowa's face. I liked the way Iowa handled that also, by the way. But Texas Tech was good. They're just very young, but I like to your point, Kendall, the bullpen is excellent. I'm picking Oklahoma State because I think they're a team that is capable of going down to Lubbock and win a series. I think Oklahoma State on the right day can beat anybody. I do have them as a national championship pick, but this is an awesome series. I mean, this is like a super regional series, if not two Omaha teams matching up. I'll pick Oklahoma State. I was curious. I think we're exactly 5-5. 5 of us picked Oklahoma State. Maybe it might be 6-4 Texas Tech, but
I
awesome
think
series.
I just feel better about Texas Tech's bullpen too. Like I mean, after seeing both those teams, I like the arms come out of Tech's bullpen a lot more.
Yeah, very fair.
I think we've got 11 guys, so 5-5 would be impressive.
Oh, okay. So there you go. We have 11.
Shock is not voting on this one, I guess.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we got 11. How about that? How do they make a graphic out of 11? You go.
Impressive work.
CG. All right, let's go back to the SEC. Ole Miss, Vandy. Seif, what do you got here?
Well, here we go. I've seen both of these teams. I've actually ran into Vandy twice. And I know Tim Corbin's a great coach. He's doing a really good job with this team because I just looked. They're 13-5. I know we have them ranked 6th. I don't participate in our rankings, probably for a great reason.
Mental health.
But yeah, mental health. And correct, because I bombed the whole thing. But I just don't know how Vandy's the 6th best club in the country. I've seen them 6 games. They're hitting .254. My boy Bradfield's struggling. It's a new lineup. So do I think they could be at some point the 6th best team in the country? I sure do, because I think that lineup's 50, 75 more at bats away from really clicking, getting some of those new guys, those young guys going. But right now, I don't think they're 6th best. I've seen Ole Miss. They have a great lineup. They have good starting pitching. They have a good bullpen. I know they're playing at Vandy, but Ole Miss to me is one of the most complete teams. And they're defending national champs. I know that really doesn't have anything to do with this year, but they have all the parts for me. I really like what I saw Ole Miss last weekend or 2 weekends ago up in Minnesota. I also saw Vandy there. I saw Vandy at Globe Life too, but I got to go Ole Miss with this one.
Fitzy.
It's a good answer, and I ultimately I agree with what Seif said. I think Ole Miss is really good, and I was nervous when they lost Hunter Elliott, but very encouraged. Even though I know Jack Doherty gave up some runs this weekend, I like Jack Doherty as a Friday guy. The fact that it feels like he's been able to give him some length, to me that answers a big question. And I still obviously believe in Grayson Saunier and Rivas, Xavier Rivas, the Sunday guy, has been very good. I think they've got enough in the bullpen, even without having Doherty there, without having Josh Mallitz, who's hurt for the year, with Mason Nichols, the emergence of like a Sam Takoyan and a JT Quinn. I think they've got enough pieces there. So we always loved the Ole Miss position player group. I was nervous about the pitching. I'm feeling okay about it right now. And hey, I'll say this for Vandy. I mean, in defense of the rankings, like they were, preseason top 10 team, which is why they're still up there. Like if you were to like wipe the slate clean and start right now, would they be top 10? You know what? They might still be, because they've played a strong schedule and they've held their own, like it's not sexy. Like I get it. Like some Vandy people, we're hearing a lot of angst from Vandy fans about the state of their offense, and justifiably so. They're not really performing. A lot of those guys have underachieved so far. Maybe just slow starts. It's a long season, but like they went to, Arlington and beat Oklahoma State and Texas. They took 2 out of 3 from UCLA. They went up to Minneapolis. This is an SEC team, leaving the state. By God, what a novel concept. They go up and beat Maryland up there and 2 out of 3. And then a nice little series against LMU. I mean, it's not been like utter dominance, especially offensively, but they're 13-5 against a good schedule. And so I think they deserve credit for that. However, I'm taking Ole Miss.
They beat that Minnesota club. Yeah. So
they beat the Gophers, which, nobody pushes around the Gophers.
But that's really the only bad.
They hit the Gophers, Seif. If you're going to beat the Gophers, you might as well hit them.
But that's the only bad team on their
team in
schedule.
America.
I saw it.
It's got to be, right?
Say it again, Kendall.
That's got to be the worst Power 5 team in America, right?
Them and Baylor are the ones struggling the most.
I think Baylor at least like beat DBU and like shut out Rice last night. I mean,
Minnesota's 3-15, boys, which I know
They've
it's
won
tough.
3.
They
Not
played a
great,
good
Bob.
again. They played a really tough schedule, but 3-15 is 3-15.
Well, they started out 0-12, so
Yeah.
that's a pretty good streak.
as they say, Seif, it's a game of inches, man.
They did. They did beat Northern Illinois, South Dakota State is a respectable program there, and they beat 1 out of 2 against Gonzaga midweek this week. So there you go.
There you
All
go.
right, turning things around. Good.
I'm not going to go with Minnesota. I'm going to go with Ole Miss over Vanderbilt. As Fitt alluded to, Ole Miss has enough pitching, and I think the big thing for me is I think Ole Miss's lineup, other than LSU, is the best lineup in college baseball, and I think their lineup is way better than Vanderbilt's, and that'll be the deciding factor this weekend in Nashville. But the weather could be a factor too. I would assume if there's a cold front sweeping across Texas this weekend, it's probably going through Nashville as well. So I would think it's going to be cold and gloomy. That maybe that kind of aids Vanderbilt a little bit. But boy, I don't know if anything's slowing down Kemp, Alderman, and the boys right now. But they're not going to cover off the ball.
Yeah, and this what makes this a great series, right? Like these are two teams. The best version of them is Omaha, and the not best version of them is get clipped in a regional. I think.
Yeah.
Like Mississippi's pitching really concerns me, but their position player group, you guys can't stop talking about it in a way that it is impacting me. Like they sound amazing. They're very familiar in a lot of ways. For me, I'm picking Vandy because I'm kind of ride or die with them, but like. I'm looking at Vandy saying Carter Holton and Nick Maldonado, you got to win the Friday game. Like you have to. That's the only way your formula works. Enrique Bradfield Jr., you have to impact this series. He's been very low impact this year, shockingly low impact. We all remember Corvallis Regional last year where Enrique Bradfield, there were moments in that where he's just taking over games, but man, he can disappear into the wallpaper at times. So I think it's a fascinating series. I think this is the essence of our sport right here is like, and you guys said it, Vandy has not lost a weekend yet. And they have really challenged themselves more so than most of the ranked teams. So I'll take Vandy. But man, this is another one that will be really fun to keep an eye on. All right. Virginia Tech at Miami, Seif.
This was the easy one. I just went right there and clicked it real quick and chose Miami right off the bat. And I don't know, Fitty. I kind of stuck up for D1Baseball in this one. I saw Fitty reply to Miami kind of antagonizing D1Baseball. So I saw Fitty. I was like, I went to support Fitty. So I'm looking at Fitty's pick, and I think I know why his pick is his pick. But my pick is because every time I pick Miami, they lose.
Oh.
So if they're going to give me a hard time about picking the other team, then I'm picking Miami, so they lose. Okay.
Hashtag analysis.
Oh,
yeah, there we go. So revenge-minded right here. So I'm picking Miami, so they lose the series.
Okay.
Just to get back at the Twitter, the very mild.
Take that, Josh White.
Reverse psychology.
Thank you. But see, here the thing is, though, if my theory doesn't hold or the past doesn't hold, then I win because Miami wins and I go 1-0. So I mean, I'm going to win here.
Yeah, that's it. Win-win.
No.
Fitzy, you picked Virginia Tech.
I did,
and
it's not out of spite. I enjoyed the banter on Twitter. I felt like that was a fun back and forth. I just think Virginia Tech bounces back here. They lost a tough series at home to BC, got swept in the doubleheader on Saturday after kind of cruising in that opener, I believe. But you know what? I think Hokies are good, man. I like their team. I think their pitching still feels a little more reliable here. If this series was in Blacksburg, I would maybe feel better about it. Like I do feel like going to Coral Gables is a little bit different, but I just think Virginia Tech maybe has a little bit of a get right week. I don't know, just kind of a vote of confidence in that team. It's a great position player group, and I think it's solid enough on the mound. I like the veterans on the mound, and I think they got some pride in that dugout, and I think they answer the bell here.
KR.
I like Miami at home. I like what their offense did the first 2 days against NC State. They were pretty electric Friday, especially early in that game. So I'm just going Miami at home. I kind of agree with I don't know if it was Seif or Aaron just said, but this is a really close series, and it can really go either way. But I go with the home team here.
Yeah, this is a tough one to pick. I like that Gage Zeal is no longer the Friday night guy, and he kind of like, he answered that well, like through his best game of the year after kind of getting that demotion. I really like that. You're right, Kendall. Like Miami's got, that's a big series win last week, and CJ Kafis still really hasn't clicked in. He's only hitting 250. But these are two postseason teams, in my opinion. I like both of them. I also want to say, to your point, Fitzy, Josh White, the SID at Miami, is awesome. And I love that he's chirpy about these picks. Like, he's a very big supporter of D1 baseball. He loves college baseball. But I want to encourage more SIDs. Like, come at us. Like, I like these. That's what makes these staff picks so fun, is that they generate so much angst. It makes for a great Twitter fare.
No, it is funny. I had an AD reach out from a school the other day who did the same thing. Like, like this apology letter. And I'm like, oh man, like I love this stuff. That shows me that people care about it. Don't apologize.
All in good fun. Absolutely. And Josh is a great sport about it too. He can ditch it and he can take it. Like, kudos to you, Josh.
Yeah, and Fitzy, your response to Josh was, that was like elite. Yeah, that was 80 response.
It doesn't get serious until it's Runes versus #Vol Twitter.
Oh yeah, that's when I called it Home Park Williamsport. I'd say the Oregon State fans, I picked Washington State last week. I thought I had a very clever tweet after Oregon State won Friday night, and I said, "Dear Cougs, I believe in you. #us against the world." And the Cougs came back and won the series. And Oregon State fans did not, they did not fillet me for that, and I appreciate
surprised.
that.
I would expect you to have gotten roasted. For
that was a great pick, by the way.
That was.
Yeah. I mean, I was desperate. I was in 9th place, so I had to.
Cojones.
Thank you.
Speaking of the Beavs, Runes.
Yeah. Is that our last series? We have
11. We have 11 this week because we had a tie last week, so I'm trying to get us back to multiples of 10.
Yeah, real quick. Okay. Let's go through this.
Oregon State,
we
Stanford.
We got a Pac-12 double here.
Seifert, it's you. Oregon State, Stanford.
Well, the Cougars are exactly the reason I'm going with Oregon State in this one, and actually do no two injuries. So, ding ding. Bowser out, and with Tommy Troy out, even though it is at Stanford, I'm going to go with Oregon State. I just think they're going to bounce back. They got to be. I mean, they're competitive. They better be competitive. This is going to show them what they're made of, and I'm betting on my Beavers.
Love it. Fitzy.
Boy, that's yeah. I mean, I think he makes a very strong argument there. Bet on the Beavers. Mitch Canham apparently. I heard that after the game on Sunday or Saturday, whatever the series finale, I think it was Sunday. He had a long, 35-minute meeting with the players and basically called them out for their toughness and their demeanor, and he just didn't like what he was seeing there in the dugout. And I feel like this program, who they're wired, I feel like they will respond well to that. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Oregon State go down there and win that series. That said, I feel like I've got to double down on Stanford. They were number 2, number 3 in the country for us, a week or two ago. We believe in this team. They're at home. I know they're banged up. I know maybe there's some questions about their pitching. I just think there's too much star power here. I think there's too much talent on the Stanford roster. I expect them to rebound from a poor week last week.
KR.
Yeah, I'm with Stanford too for the exact reason. I just don't think this is a program, especially when we look at their experience and their talent, that is going to have 2 absolute stinkers in a row. I think they take care of business at home.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Stanford's talent. And, Oregon State just offensively, they're just not scoring at all. Last 3 games, 3 runs, 1 run against Nevada the other night, 5 runs in the win against Washington State. So, I just worry about the newness of that offense. But Stanford at home, give me the Cardinal. And let's go final Pac-12. What do they call it? Pac-12 at midnight? What's their jargon?
Pac-12 after dark.
Pac-12 after dark. Thank you for that. Seif, so this is Arizona at UCLA, correct? Yes.
Correct. Yep.
Who do you like? Oh, wow. Look at this.
Full respect for what Arizona's done this year. I mean, they beat Tennessee. They just swept Cal. I mean, they're having a great year. Good club. I just think UCLA is still the better team. They're playing at home. So I'm going with the Bruins.
Fitzy?
I mean, I agree that I think UCLA is the better team, and they're at home. And I got burned last week when I picked against UCLA on the road, so I feel like I should pick UCLA. But I just kind of like the cut of Arizona's jib right now.
Yes.
Their offense is rolling. They put up 30 runs in that sweep against Cal. I mean, Grand Canyon, they lit those guys up. They got a winning streak going. They're pitching okay too. I mean, TJ Nichols was good last week. I don't know. I'm just making an upset pick here. Just kind of a gut feel upset pick. I don't have a good reason for it because I really, really believe in UCLA. I think they're a potential Omaha team. I don't think Arizona's a potential Omaha team. But right now, the way these teams are playing, I'm just going to ride it with Arizona.
Kendall.
Well, I like UCLA at home. I was just kind of looking at the weather report. It looks like the marine layer will be heavy on Friday night. Hashtag marine layer.
Hashtag marine layer.
So I look at all these bells and whistles, and I notice the humidity levels will be really high in SoCal this weekend. So that leads me to believe there will be marine layer. Chase Davis's home balls are not going to fly. Well, I don't know with this ball it might, but I don't think his home runs are going to fly or the ball's going to fly the way he wants it to in that marine layer. But no, in all seriousness, I like what UCLA has on the mound. With Alonzo Treadwell. I know Jake Brooks, has gotten tagged a couple of times this year, but he's a pitchability guy that pounds the zone. Kelly Austin's a nice arm for them. I just think they have better pitching. I think in an environment like Jackie Robinson, I tend to favor a team with better pitching.
Yeah, I'm with you, Fitzy. Arizona's my gut feel pick here. They're just kind of hanging around and playing good. And I think their series loss to West Virginia actually tells us more about West Virginia than it does Arizona. I think we're going to learn that West Virginia is actually really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I watched UCLA almost not win that series last week. I mean, they're up 8-2 in the ninth against Oregon in the Saturday game, and Luke Jewett gives up back-to-back home runs. It's 8-7, and they're hanging on for dear life. Now, they did run Oregon out of the gym on Sunday, and that was very impressive. I think UCLA is very good, but I like Arizona's team. The more I know about them, the more I like them. So another great series. So give me the Wildcats. Fitzy, can I make a request either from you or Chris Gennaro? Can we get, by the way, do you guys say Gennaro or Gennaro? CG, you might have to help me here.
Who could say?
Who can say?
It's right. Chris Gennaro, like Ed Gennaro from Unnecessary Roughness.
But I think if you're from Philly, you could say Gennaro. And get away.
I can say whatever I want. I could just butcher it, blame it on the accent. I want standings. I want standings posted, especially now that I'm coming off a big week.
Of course you do.
But let me just say, Kendall, you're checking in at 25-14, not so bueno. Fitzy at 27-12. I'm at 25-14, but hot as a pistol. Joe Healy, I want an investigation here. Joe Healy is 29-10. Hashtag shenanigans. Can we get an investigation? Mark Etheridge 30-9. So the whole SEC extra crew is corrupt, if I'm being honest. Burke is 27.
It's always the SEC has got to dominate everything.
Yeah, I mean Greg Sankey has
Can't we just have something?
Burke Granger 27-12, Patrick Ebert 28-11, Seif 29-10. Look at you also amongst the leaders. Stitch is 27-12. Shoddy at 20-19. Shoddy could get relegated. He's going to be in an Argentina college baseball fantasy league next year.
Shoddy's just going on brand here.
Yeah, and the great Stephen F. Schock, 23-16.
The worst part is once you fall behind, it's like you're fighting uphill and you start being contrarian and like trying to pick against the grain. You just fall farther and farther behind. We've all been there. It's no fun.
That's right. That's no fun. Yes. By the way, we encourage everyone to get a subscription to the website, D1Baseball.com, SEC Extra. Type in Save 23 at checkout and you get 20% off. Save 23 at checkout, 20% off. Gentlemen, well done. A good effort. Remember, games start on Thursday evening, Florida and Alabama. Can't wait for that. And that is it. We will catch everyone next time